Summer descends upon the city in full force. Jungkook has a hard time focusing on his studies because of the intense heat wave. It definitely doesn't help that his apartment's air conditioning stopped working. But Jungkook drives away from his last final test of his junior year of college feeling happy. One more year to go before getting to focus on what he really wants to do. One more year until he can jump into the field and help people like him, victims of violence in the city. Jungkook feels a little teary-eyed, feeling so excited and satisfied with who he is becoming. It's a wonderful feeling. As he pulls up to our diner, Jungkook's elated attitude is quickly replaced with one of uncomfortable curiosity. Two guys, maybe a little older than Jungkook, stand outside of their parked car in the furthest point of the small parking lot. The blonde one leans against the passenger door, both arms crossed on the roof, the other has black hair, smoking a cigarette. Neither of them talk, but both stare as Jungkook drives past, pulling around the back and out of sight. Jungkook can't help but frown. Strange. Jungkook looks at the little digital clock on the hosting station, sighing 5 p.m. It's slow in the diner. As it always is on Thursdays. With school being on break for the summer, Jungkook has been picking up a few more hours at the dinner, much to Sof's dismay. She thinks Jungkook should be out partying with her and her other friends. But, truth be told, Jungkook can't help but feel out of place with Sof's other girlfriends. They all kind of fawn over him, obsessed with the fact that he's gay. They act like it's an episode of RuPaul's Drag Race with everything he does. Oh my god. Jungkook rolls his eyes, chuckling. While it is amusing, he could only endure it for a short while. Suddenly, the door whips open, pulling Jungkook from his thoughts. For a second Jungkook thinks it could be Taehyung. 5 p.m., Thursday, Jungkook is here, it makes sense. But when Jungkook looks up, his heart sinks a little. It's the two suspicious guys that were standing outside. The blonde one leads, a weirdly cocky and intimidating confidence in his step. The dark-haired one trails close behind, more discreet and mysterious. The blonde gives Jungkook an arrogant smile, nothing like Taehyung's sweet and inviting smiles. Hi darling. A table for two, alright. His Irish accent shocks Jungkook a little. Yeah, Jungkook says, pick a spot and I'll get you started. Jungkook goes back into the kitchen, pouring the 2 glasses of water, tucking menus under his arm. When he walks out to the dining room, the men have chosen to sit in the same booth that Taehyung usually sits in, which makes Jungkook frown slightly. Here's this for you guys, Jungkook says as he puts down the water and menus. My name is Jungkook and I'll be your server today. What can I get started for you? You know, the blonde one says, carelessly flipping through the menu. I would love to know your opinion. As a waiter, Jungkook lowers his pen and notepad. Sure, I suppose I prefer the burger, but the coffee's pretty good with the black-haired one snickers and the blonde kicks him underneath the table. No, no. I meant your opinion on, he gestures to the dining room, this place. Big Al Diner. Jungkook is taken aback for a second. Oh, it's great. I really enjoy working here. The man grins, but Jungkook doesn't feel right. And the clientele? They seem happy. You have regulars coming in. Jungkook shrugs. Yeah, I guess so. They seem to enjoy the food and we do have people come back. I mean, there was one regular for a while. Taehyung flashes through Jungkook's mind, but he stopped showing. So maybe not everyone enjoys the food or whatever. The two look to each other, agreeing on something silently. The look makes Jungkook feel uncomfortable, like he's done something wrong by sharing that bit of information. Why all the questions Jungkook asks with a frown? The blonde's eyes linger one the other for a second too long before looking back up to Jungkook. We are potential buyers, he says with a smile. Wanted to check out the place for ourselves. Big Al is selling the diner before the blonde can speak. The other speaks up. You know what? I would love to a bit of coffee about now. Yeah, the blonde looks over, almost grimacing. Yeah. Right. See what you guys got. 2 cups of double espresso bagging. Thank you, the blackhead says with a tight-lipped, unconvincing smile. Jungkook nods, excusing himself to walk back to the hosting station. Big Al selling the diner? That would never happen. He loves this place too much. There's no way. Jungkook doesn't believe it. Something doesn't feel right. He goes back into the kitchen without looking at the table. He takes out a new box of double espresso and soft spots him. Hey you. I feel like I haven't seen you all day. Jungkook smiles. Hi Softs. Did Coffee Cutie show up now? That ship has sailed. Jungkook says, forcing a chuckle. But I wanted to ask you something. Do you know anything about Al selling the diner? Asks. Al? Sell the diner? Yeah, right. Why? Did you hear something about it? Jungkook shakes his head. No. But there's a couple of people saying that they're looking at buying the place. Well, tell them they've got the wrong place, Soft says, patting Jungkook's shoulder before going back to the sink filled with dishes. Jungkook can't help but frown as he finishes prepping the coffee. He sets the saucer and cups in front of the 2 men. Is there anything else I can get you? Jungkook asks, feeling an itch to directly interrogate the 2. The black-haired one looks up with that same tight-lipped smile. We'll let you know. Kook nods, immediately retreating back to the kitchen. He walks around casually, asking the other waitresses how they're doing and oh hey, have you heard about Big Al selling the diner? He even asked the cooks, and everyone gave him the same answer, no. After a few minutes of questioning the kitchen staff, Jungkook starts to talk himself up, ready to march out there and confront the 2 men about what they actually want. But as Jungkook returns to the dining room, he sees the men are gone. The booth is empty, tea untouched. Jungkook walks to the table, frowning at the cups. How peculiar. Untouched coffee, unusual questions, loitering in the parking lot. There's such a weird vibe that's going on right now. It makes Jungkook's stomach turn a bit. As Jungkook picks up the cups, he notices something. There's a piece of paper under one of them, the one the black-haired one had. Jungkook looks around before pulling the note from underneath the cup. He unfolds the paper, and scribbled in elegant cursive, reads the phrase. It must be French. Jungkook's heart skips a beat. French. His hands starting to sweat. Is this from Taehyung? Humor at the mere possibility Taehyung would leave a note for Jungkook. Let alone leaving a note with those 2 shady characters makes Jungkook chuckle. Stupid, Jungkook mutters to himself, amused with his naive imagination. He slips the note into his pocket and grabs the cups. Jungkook goes back to the kitchen, ready to tell Soph about the note and those weird guys, but she's not at the dish station. A little bummed, Jungkook places the dishes in the sink and goes back to his cubby to get his phone. Jungkook pulls up Google Translate and puts in the phrase on the note. One better be alone than in bad company. What is that supposed to mean? If that should come from Taehyung, is it supposed to be a lame explanation as to why he stopped showing up? Not that Taehyung owes me an explanation. I mean, we are not even dating or anything. Jungkook shakes his head. Bad company. So Taehyung thinks of himself as bad company, like he'll corrupt Jungkook or something? That's so lame. Jungkook had alcohol before, he's even done marijuana a few times. So Taehyung wouldn't be bad company in that way. And it's not like Jungkook is a virgin or anything. Jungkook cheeks redden at the thought of Taehyung doing anything inherently sexual to Jungkook. Jungkook looks at the translation again. Bad company. Maybe dangerous? Jungkook mind slips to the two guys that left the note. Maybe they thought Taehyung is bad company. You don't think they did something to Taehyung? Is this a threat? Watch your door and Cookie soft speaks up from behind Cookie, making him jump a little. Jungkook turns off his phone, shoving the note and his phone into his pocket. How would he explain this to Soph? He can't. What if what's happening here is dangerous? Just checking my grades. I'm waiting for my history final to come back. Soph chuckles. I'm sure you did fine. Jungkook nods, offering her a semi-believable smile. As Jungkook goes through the rest of his shift, he can't help but think about the questions those guys were asking. Why were they so interested? At the end of his shift, Jungkook steps into Al's office. Hey Big Al, Jungkook says, leaning on the doorway. Have a minute. Al looks up from the papers on his desk, smiling at the sight of Jungkook. Of course. Please, sit. Jungkook takes a seat in one of the chairs in front of Al's desk. There were some guys in here earlier. Jungkook starts as Al sets his papers aside. They were asking a lot of questions and they said you were selling the diner. Al pause, regains his composure and then gives a half-hearted chuckle. Well, that is strange. I know it's none of my business, Jungkook says, unsure of how to process Al's reaction. No, Al chuckles more convincingly. I'm not selling the diner. I'll be here for a long time. Jungkook gives Al a tight smile, softly chuckling too. Right. That's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure. Jungkook looks at his hands. I better get going. You should really give studying a break, Cookie, Al says with a grin. Go out and live a little. Jungkook laughs as he starts to leave the office. Yeah. He stops in the doorway. Have a good night, Al. You too, Jungkook. As Jungkook drives back to his apartment, he can't help but feel something is going on. He tries not to think about it too much, but it's all so weird, odd, even peculiar. Strange, like Odd said.